Hallelujah, Baruch Hashem.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Allahu Akbar, praise Jesus.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah,
All right,
baby.
because we have a lot to do tonight, why don't I get started?
Thank you, Ruthie.
All right, I am going to start now. Okay. I start with "Are you not to me?" I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you not to me, O people of Israel, like the Cushites, says the Eternal One? Did I not bring Israel up from the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Crete, and the Arameans from Kir? Look now, the eyes of the eternal God are on the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from the face of the earth, though I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, says the Eternal One. For at my command I will shake the house of Israel among all the nations as one shakes in a sieve, yet not a pebble shall fall to the ground. The sinners of my people shall die by the sword, saying all the while, no harm shall overtake us, nor meet us. On that day, I will raise up David's fallen shelter. I will rebuild the breaches in its walls and raise up to its ruins and build it up in days of old. They shall possess what is left of Edom and all the nations that you were called by name, says the Eternal One who does this. The time is coming, says the Eternal One, when the one who plows the field will overtake the one who reaps it, and the treader of grapes will overtake the one who sows seeds. When the mountains shall drip sweet wine and all the hills shall overflow, I will restore the fortunes of my people Israel. They shall rebuild the desolate cities and dwell in them. They shall plant vineyards and drink their wine, make gardens and eat their fruit. I will plant them on their soil, never again to be uprooted from the soil they have given them, says the Eternal One, your God. I just want to tell you something. As I read this, it just reminds me of what we've done in Israel, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm feeling the same
it's
thing.
What happened once we got the state of Israel. Everything started to flourish. You notice that? Okay.
Yes.
I just thought I'd mention.
I'm with you. I think that's it. That's it for the Haftarah.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
all right.
Cynthia's coming.
I'll read until I get tired.
Okay. And Cynthia's coming. I think she likes to read too. So.
Oh, good. Okay, then that's great.
Yeah.
If she wants to read, I don't want to. I'll start and then she can read too.
Okay. And so this again is we're gonna go over the same rules of what's allowed and not, mostly what's not allowed for sex relations. But this time there's going to be the punishments that are going to be added to it. And I always say, yeah, good, not the punishments. Hey, Cynthia. So I always say that
Cynthia, we're talking about sex now.
Get ready.
Not just sex, prohibited sex there, Edith.
Yeah.
There, Edith. That's the pornography.
This is the pornography section, right? Okay, here we go.
Hold on.
Not pornography, pornography.
That's the one. That's it. Exactly.
Oh, I thought you said. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the whole Israelite community and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Eternal, your God, am holy. You shall each revere your mother and your father and keep my Sabbath. I, the Eternal, am your God. Do not turn to idols or make molten gods for yourself. I am eternal, am your God. I, the Eternal, am your God. When you sacrifice an offering of well-being to the Eternal, sacrifice it though it may be accepted on your behalf. It shall be eaten on the day you sacrifice it, or on the day following. But what is left by the third day must be consumed in fire. If it should be eaten on the third day, it is an offensive thing. It will not be acceptable. And one who eats or shall bear the guilt for having profaned what is sacred to the Eternal, that person shall be cut off from kin. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall not pick your vineyard bare, or gather the fallen fruit of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall not steal. You shall not deal deceitfully or falsely with one another. You shall not swear falsely by my name, profaning the name of your God. I am the Eternal. You shall not defend your fellow Israelite. You shall not commit robbery. The wages of a laborer shall not remain with you until morning. You shall not insult the deaf or place a stumbling block before the blind. You shall fear your God. I am the Eternal. You shall not render an unfair decision. Do not favor the poor or show reference to the rich. Judge your kin fairly. Do not deal baselessly with members of your people. Do not profit by the blood of your fellow Israelite. I am the Eternal. You shall not bear your kinsfolk in your heart. Reprove your kin, but incur no guilt on their account. If you shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against members of your people, love your fellow Israelite as yourself. I am the Eternal. You shall observe my laws. You shall not let your cattle mate with a different kind. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seed. You shall not put on cloth from a mixture of two kinds of material. If a man has carnal relations with a woman who is a slave and has been designated for another man, but has not been redeemed or given her freedom, there shall be an indemnity. They shall not, however, be put to death, since she has not been freed. But he must bring into the entrance of the tent of meeting as his reparation offering to the Eternal a ram of reparation offering. With the ram of reparation offering, the priest shall make expiation for him before the Eternal for the sin that he committed, and the sin that he committed will be forgiven him. When you enter the land and plant any tree for food, you shall regard its fruit as forbidden. 3 years it shall be forbidden for you, not to be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit shall be set aside for jubilation before the Eternal. And only in the 5th year may you use its fruit, that its yield to you may be increased. I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall not eat anything with its blood. You shall not practice divination or soothsaying. You men shall not round off the side growth on your head or destroy the side growth of your beard. You shall not make gashes in your flesh for the dead or incise any marks on yourselves. I am the Eternal. I want to stop here. This is where a lot of the Orthodox Jews, not only about the payas and everything, but this is where people have always had that conflict if you can have tattoos or not. If you notice, it says you should not make gashes in your flesh for the dead or incise any marks on yourselves. I am the Eternal. That's where, Orthodox Jews don't believe in tattoos.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
want
I've
to
heard
mention that.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Do not degrade your daughter and make her a harlot, lest the land fall into harlotry and the land be filled with depravity. Depravity? Yeah. Okay. You shall keep my Sabbaths and venerate my sanctuary. I am the Eternal. Do not turn to ghosts and do not inquire of.
Actually, can I say something at this point too?
Yeah.
What did you think about the part where you can't eat the fruit of the land until the 5th year? Wow. Doesn't
I
that
always thought it
sound-
was the 7th year. I always thought it was the 7th year, so I thought the 5th year was kind of early.
Right. I think it's usually it goes in sevens or something. But
Yeah, I'm surprised it was 5th
when you
year.
enter the land, 3 years it should be forbidden. The 4th year is a
Yeah.
festival, jubilation, and only the 5th year may you use its fruit. Wow, that's a lot of years, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Okay. And only in the 5th. Oh, where are we now? Okay. Do
Okay.
not turn to ghosts and do not inquire of familiar spirits to be defiled by them. I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall rise before the aged and show deference to the old. You shall fear your God. I am the Eternal. When strangers reside with you in your land, you shall not wrong them. These strangers who reside with you shall be to you as your citizens. You shall love each one as himself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall not falsify measures of length, weight, or capacity. You shall have an honest balance, honest weights, and honest, what is that? Ephah? Is that Ephah?
I think
And
it's
an
measurement.
honest measure. I, the Eternal, am your God who freed you from.
I'm just going to look down here if it says anything about the hin. Oh, the ephah. The ephah
Ephah.
was a dry measure. The hin was a liquid measure.
Oh, okay. Okay, good to know.
All right.
All right. Go back. Up, 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 up. Yeah. So it says, I am the Eternal your God who freed you from, go up now, from the land of Egypt. You shall faithfully observe all my laws and all my rules. I am the Eternal. And the Eternal One spoke to Moses, say further to the Israelite people, anyone among the Israelites or among the strangers reading in Israel who gives any offspring to Molech shall be put to death. The people of the land shall pelt the person with stones, and I will set my face against that person whom I will cut off from among the people for having given offspring to Molech, and so defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. And if the people of the land should shut their eyes to that person's giving offspring to Molech and should not put the person to death, I myself will set my face against that person's skin as well, and I will cut off from among their people both that person and all who follow in going astray from Molech. And if any person turns to ghosts and familiar spirits and goes astray after them, I will set my face against that person whom I will cut off from among the people. I just want to mention, when he talks about ghosts and spirits, is he talking still about like idols and stuff?
I think it's soothsaying, right, Gary? Isn't it like
Yeah, like
divination?
I think so. Yeah, like if you go to somebody to like read your palm or
Oh, that
doing
type
a
of thing. Yeah,
seance or
yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that type of thing.
seances. You never
And
know with
just think
seances.
how many people do that today too.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that, Cynthia?
Well, I was just thinking about that myself. One of my daughters, who's now older, I remember Laurie Cabot in summer in Salem, who had been supposedly a big witch when my daughter was going around with boys. She's been married now 30 years, has grown children. She was running to her to read for her advice, and she was the witch of Salem. So
Yeah.
she was running. I should have cited this, and she could have saved money right then and there.
Well, it's really interesting because
Right.
I have mixed feelings about this. I want to tell you why. I never believed in all this palm reading and everything, but I went to something that was very unusual. This man was not making money from this. He did this just because when he was a little boy, the movie, I See Dead People. He actually was able to tell each one of us, with not knowing anything about us, a lot about my family that were not general things, like specifics. And he said it wasn't that he was like doing this for any real reason to make money or anything. He says he just has he found when he was a little boy that he had this sixth sense about dead people and stuff. So I don't know. I don't really believe it's all. I mean, there are a lot of shysters. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that are really out to just take your money. But then this guy was so real and honest, and he didn't make any money. He just did this. We had a
But
little group.
can I say one thing though? This doesn't say anything about money. It just says that you shouldn't listen to. It doesn't say
Right. No,
listen
I
to like.
understand. I
I
understand
know.
it doesn't say
Yeah.
it. But what I'm telling you is that most of them do it for money. And he specifically had a bunch of us people together. It's I had a friend who knew this person, and he told me things about my father that I only knew. And remember, my father died when I was 5, and only I would have known certain things. And he was very specific. It wasn't like, oh, your father loved you or something. It was very specific. And I have to tell you, I was really very, very touched by that whole experience. So I don't know. I never had that experience again. I've gone to those palm readers, and that's a bunch of baloney. But I'm telling you, the things, this guy was for real. And so that's why I do believe there are some people that do have, I don't know how you say it, they have extra, they have extra sensories that we don't have. And he said he found this out when he was a little boy. I mean,
What about this though? I mean, this says about going to familiar spirits or ghosts, but what if someone's like Moses and actually goes and talks to the eternal
that's right.
Yud-Keh-Vav-Keh? Maybe he was going right to the source, because then it's
You know,
not
and do you know that there is a
not
lot
wrong.
of people? Do you know there are a lot of people that feel that Moses was crazy? I want you to know, no, that they really thought that he was crazy. There are
Right.
people that interpret this whole Torah thing that are not like very religious, okay? That they believe that the reason why, you know, Moses spoke to God and everything is because he was a little crazy. So
Mhm.
there are people that believe that, you know.
You can say that about any prophet, I think. They said that
Yeah,
about Jesus. They said it about
yeah,
Jonah. Well, no, actually, Jonah's the one interesting prophet in the sense that I feel like Jonah, this is my interpretation
yeah,
of Jonah, the one who ended up in the belly of the whale.
yeah,
I feel like he didn't want to be looked at as crazy. So he just
yeah.
ran away from God. He said, "No, I'm not going to do it."
Right, right,
And
right.
and it turned out really well for him, but he still was like, "I'm not going to be a prophet." And but you remember Moses said that to God too. Remember Moses
Right.
said right off the bat, "No, not good, not for me." And then God said, "All right,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to get you Aaron," and that was a hurtful thing.
Right.
But we all say, we all say it. We all do the same thing. I think personally.
Oh no, I mean for me, I think that I'm probably I'm more of a what is it called? The heretic or whatever it is. I know I really do because I'm always questioning everything. I mean, I if I was living at that time, I would have been killed several times over. Oh yeah, easily. Oh, and I'm honest about it. I don't think of myself as some holy person by any means. God, no. I've done so many mistakes in my life, anyways, other than just the religious laws here. Oh my God. I won't even tell you the things that I've done. But anyway, so, there's no way I can put myself in some spiritual.
What were you saying, Cynthia? What were you saying?
I said, she said she wouldn't tell us the things she's done. I said, I wish she would. It would have made this an interesting evening.
No, I wouldn't do it in front of the Torah.
Can I just ask?
I'll come to your house sometime, Cynthia, and I'll tell you. But I don't know if you want to hear some of the things I've done. You might have a different idea of who I am now.
We all make mistakes.
I also wanted to ask, who is Molech?
So I believe Moloch is like the fertility god, and
okay.
and I believe that, and that's always a problem for any ancient people. They don't trust God to, give them
Right.
give them prosper, or give them pregnancy or anything like that. It's such a I mean, and I think that's another reason why today's people do go to these palm readers and stuff. Am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids? Am I going to do all these things? People, it's so.
Oh yeah, everybody wants the answers, right?
Yeah, everyone's like this. Where is it? But it's okay to go to God and ask. That's the thing. But it's like, but we don't think of that. We just think, oh, this other person will talk to a ghost and they'll tell us. And
Yeah,
so
right,
like,
right.
Cynthia, you want to pick it up?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Let's let her go. Go ahead.
7.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now just tell me, please,
Ruth.
where we are.
Number 7.
Number
Yeah.
7, you shall sanctify.
Okay, you shall sanctify yourselves and be holy, for I, the Eternal, am your God. You shall faithfully observe my laws. I, the Eternal, make you holy. If anyone insults either father or mother, that person shall be put to death. That person has insulted father and mother and retains the blood gut. If a
Guilt.
man blood guilt. Oh, I'm sorry, right.
That's okay.
If a man commits adultery with another's wife, committing adultery with the wife of his fellow Israelite, the adulterer and the adulteress shall be put to death. If a man lies with his father's wife, it is the nakedness of his father that he has uncovered. The two shall be put to death, and they retain the blood guilt. If a man lies with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall be put to death. They have committed incest, and they retain the blood guilt. If a man lies with a male as one lies with a woman, the two of them have done an abhorrent thing. They shall be put to death, and they retain the blood guilt. If a man marries a woman and her mother, it is depravity. Both he and they shall be put to the fire, that there be no depravity among you. If a man has carnal relations with a beast, he shall be put to death. and you shall kill the beast. I got to tell you something. This is an awful thing. I used to work for a newspaper, and I remember we had a story. Thank God it wasn't the town I was covering. I didn't have to. This guy was sheep.
Oh yeah, it's very common
was-
that a lot of men used to have sex with sheep. That's not unusual.
Well, we called the story "Sheep Love" on the. But
Last
Oh.
last
I
year in the
never-
news, there was a young kid that got caught on videotape having sex with a horse.
Oh yeah,
horse?
Yeah,
I've
no,
heard.
yeah.
I want to someday. I'll tell you a story about all of the men that have admitted to have had sex with an animal. You would be surprised how many there are.
Well, that must have been either a short horse or a tall kid. But then, what do I know? But, now, where did
Used a stepladder. Oh,
this is supposed to be a religious evening?
This,
that's
We're
it.
underground.
We're talking about the things here that Leviticus bans.
That's
Am I
right.
dead?
We're elucidating.
We got
oh my goodness! Just as we're talking about beasts, Rudy just came into the
Oh
room.
boy.
Yeah, because Rudy wanted to hear what we were talking about.
Yeah,
I couldn't
he's
let-
very interested now.
Now, where am I at? At 11, I've lost control of
I think
myself.
you're at 16. 16.
Oh,
right?
God, you see what happens. If a woman approaches any beast to mate with it, you shall kill the woman and the beast. They shall be put to death, and they retain the blood guilt. If a man marries his sister, the daughter of either his father or his mother, so that he sees her nakedness, and she sees his nakedness, it is a disgrace. They shall be excommunicated in the sight of,
Oy, oy, oy.
let's see. Now, where the heck am I?
At the top. And it should be.
Okay, they're kinsfolks. He has uncovered the nakedness of his sister. He shall bear the guilt. If a man lies with a woman during her menstrual condition and uncovers her nakedness, he has laid bare her flow, and she has exposed her blood flow. Both of them shall be cut off from among their people.
Somebody just-
Yeah, okay. You male shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister or of your father's sister, for that is laying bare one's own flesh. They shall bear their guilt. If a man lies with his uncle's wife, it is his uncle's nakedness that he has uncovered. They shall bear their guilt. They shall die childless. If a man marries the wife of his brother, it is indecency. It is the nakedness of his brother that he has uncovered. They shall remain childless. You shall faithfully observe all my laws and all my regulations, lest the land to which I bring you to settle in spew you out. You shall not follow the practices of the nation that I am driving out before you, for it is because they did all these things that I abhorred them and said to you, you shall possess their land, but I will give it to you to possess, a land flowing with milk and honey. I, the Eternal, am your God, who has set you apart from other peoples. So you shall set apart the pure beast from the impure bird from the pure. You shall not draw abomination upon yourselves through beast or bird or anything with which the ground is alive, which I have set apart for you to treat as impure. You shall be holy to me, for I, the Eternal, am holy, and I have set you apart from other peoples to be mine.
That's nice. And I was just thinking of the choir, because didn't the choir sing a great song on Friday night?
Yes,
about-
well, yeah, Eretz Love, the land of milk and honey. Yeah, we sang that.
That was
Friday night,
beautiful. That was-
Eretz Love, Eretz. Very, very, very Israeli song from the pioneer days. Yeah.
oh, wow. And we only have one more line of this whole thing, right, Gary? This is the end.
That's it. That is it.
Do you
One
want
more line.
to read it, Cynthia? Sorry, Monique.
A man or a woman who has a ghost or a familiar spirit shall be put to death. They shall be pelted with stones, and they shall retain the blood guilt.
Wow.
Well, that was a really good discussion we had about, palm readers and things. Monique, I'm sorry you weren't in. There was a very interesting parsha about talking about that you can't go to palm readers or spirited people because you're supposed to be believing in God and not anybody else asking
Oh, that was tonight's parsha?
Yeah, that's what you missed it.
Yeah, part of it. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really good, but you can go over it yourself and read it.
Yeah. But it's also it ends up on YouTube too. That,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can always see it on YouTube. That's true.
Right.
Mhm.
So, but I also wanted to give a little bit. This is a little bit more about the same-sex relationships, and so last week, the big thing last week was that we had kind of the same teachings. They were a little bit in a different order. It was Leviticus chapter 18, and this week it was the same rules or laws, except this week Moses adds one thing, and that's the punishment. So that's where we hear all those, you shall be put to death, you shall be put to death, or you shall be removed from your kin, that kind of thing. So I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel like some of these laws, or most of them, all of them maybe, should be followed, but I think we can interpret the punishments differently today. I feel like,
Yeah, like I said, I would have been killed quite a few times over. Quite
Yeah,
a few times over.
The thing with the punishments, though, is like, the Torah says that these are supposed to be the punishments, but we don't know if they actually ever did that. I think it's more, we've talked about this before, I think more like a deterrent.
right.
Like, you tell your kid, oh, if you do this, I'm going to kill you. You're not actually going to kill him, but, it sounds pretty harsh.
I think stoning was used a lot in the ancient world.
Yeah,
It
stoning
probably was, but,
Now, that
but I'm
was.
saying,
That's
like,
true. But that's another thing. We're reading something from thousands of years ago. We have evolved, and remember, we don't do sacrifices today. So a lot of the things that we read in the Torah, you can't take it literally anymore because we don't do a lot of these practices anymore. I understand about not having adultery and things, but I'm just saying there's a lot of things like, the growing of the payos that they were talking about, and they were talking about, not marring your body, so a person shouldn't have a tattoo. A lot of things have changed. Even Jewish rabbis have a different approach to the whole tattoo stuff today. So I don't know. It's hard to kind of differentiate what's really important to follow and what isn't,
Right.
Is there a Jewish law against tattooing?
Well, no, what it is Orthodox. If you read the parsha that we just read, it says you're never supposed to do any marring of your body, meaning you can't make any marks on it or anything. So Orthodox Jews never get tattoos. But a lot of things have changed since then. Even some Orthodox Jews or conservative Jews now say it's okay to have tattoos because there's another reason that it was different than when it was in the ancient times that it is today. So there's a lot of Jewish people that get tattoos today where there weren't as many, let's say, back in Eastern Europe. That's the only way I can explain that. Yeah. Yeah, that's very common, Monique, that Orthodox Jews would never get a tattoo.
Oh, okay.
At one time, but now that's changing. It's changing.
Yeah. So anyway, last week I talked about this commentary that I've been working on, and I've been working on it for at least a year or two since I've been thinking about it so much. So tonight I put together a slide presentation. This is the first time I've actually done it with a group. So I thank you for being my guinea pigs. But anyway, so I wanted to run through this, and definitely if I don't speak correctly on it, definitely chime in and correct me. But maybe if I just could ask you to hold your questions until we get through a lot of the parts of this, because I'm hoping that some of your questions will be answered as we go through this. And if you have to drop off, I think it's only going to take 20 minutes, but I don't know.
Yeah, at 8:30 I'll have to drop off, but I hope it'll be finished by 8:30. Okay, good.
Okay, so this is the presentation. Does the Bible forbid same-sex relationships? And this is my commentary. And I'm going to add that it's Bible-based and it's not psychology-based, whatever that may mean. And to me, why this is important, because I was talking about this last week. I have many close gay friends, and I want them to enjoy the Bible as it is and not have to jump through too many hoops about their own personal attractions. whether it be same sex, whether, there's so many different things people are having attractions of. But anyway, what we should do, I'd like to just go through this, and I think it's a beginning to something. And the other thing is, I don't know if this is wholly my own unique thing. There might have been somebody that did something like this similar. So I'm not going to claim this as my own, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I feel the Torah is stating. And this is all Torah stuff. So again, last week we came up with Leviticus. It was 18:22. So
I'll read it if you want.
Thank you.
Do not lie with a male as one lies with a woman. It is abhorrence. Do not have carnal relations with any beast and defile yourself thereby. And let no woman lend herself to a beast to mate with it. It is perversion.
Okay. So the big thing here is that these two laws, if you will, come one right after the next, and they also repeated tonight too, if you remember, because that's when we were talking about the horse and the stairs and everything. But the important thing here is that we can see as all of these rules were being told, the idea is we have to remember that these rules are for men. It's mostly men. Men do not lie with a male as one lies with a woman. And then number 23 is men do not have carnal relations with any beast and defile yourself. And then men do not let a woman lend herself to a beast to mate with it. It is perversion. So these two things kind of give us some clues here as to the first thing we should ask, who this message is for men. And then there you go, males, okay. And then males need to explain number 23, the carnal relations with a beast, to the females. So right away here, I'm just going to jump to the chase on number 23. If you're a male or if you're a female, don't have sex with animals. That's it. Unfortunately, that's the rule that the Torah is giving us, and it gave it to us tonight too. So I'm sorry about that guy with the horse. And then, so if we just focus on 22 though, there's nothing about females in that line at all. It's just about men, right? So what we can say is that males cannot lie with males, and females perhaps can lie with females, because there's nothing here that has to do with what females
But
can
that doesn't
do.
that doesn't make the male feel any better, because if he's born gay, he's born gay,
I know. Okay. Well, not done yet. Not done yet,
I'm
Ruthie.
sorry.
But
That's
okay.
I opened my mouth. I apologize.
That's all right. We'll get questions later. But let me just go through this. So right now though, that's a difference that we should probably look at. Like, why is there a difference for females, and why is there a difference for males? That females it's okay, males it's not. All right. So I guess I'm getting redundant. So males. So out of this, if we just stick with Leviticus 18:22, males cannot lie with males, females can lie with females, and of course, males can lie with females. Hallelujah. So the question we probably should ask are, who are males in the society and who are females? Because I think this is a key part of this whole thing, is that there are different people. And I mean, I know that I identify as a male, and I think, some of us tonight are females, and another guy is a male. So that might be part of it. But the question is, who are males and who are females? So we can look back to the book of Genesis, and how did God create us? So he created us in the format of male and female. So when we get back to Genesis, the first chapter, and the verse is 26, God said, "Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness." And then the next verse, God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. So right here is kind of a clue that it doesn't say he created some one group male and one group female. He said he created them all together, male and female. That's how I'm interpreting it anyway. So that's kind of freeing, I think, because I think what we can do is ask, are some created male and some created female? Yes or no. I don't think it really says that. I don't think it has anything to do with one group being male and one group being female. I mean, I think, yes, there are our bodies. Our bodies might be male or female, but who we are as people might not be female or male. So the big thing is, this is the big reveal from Genesis, the first chapter. What we know is, if we are made in the image of God, then God is female and male, and we are female and male. What do you think about that?
I actually agree, because I believe that we're not either heterosexual or gay. This is my interpretation. I believe that we have a little bit of each in us. This is just what I've noticed over the years, that people might repress that the male guy might repress part of the female part of him, and the female might repress the male part. But I've accepted always that I have male and female in me. This has nothing to do with God. I always saw myself this way, and I see everybody else this way. But what happens is that most men kind of, if they feel heterosexual, they feel they have to repress the female part of them. And the females that feel heterosexual feel they have to repress the male part of them. So I think we have a little bit of both in us. That's my personal opinion. Yeah.
And after living as long as we have, I think we've all met like a male who's not acted very male, and we've all probably met a female that's acted not very female, right? So oh my gosh, Dr. Ed is right coming in.
Oh, so, what a time to come in, Dr. Ed. Woo-hoo.
So I think, so here we are both male and female. So this could be anybody, any of us, really. I mean, some of us who are biologically female, on the inside, we could be here, we could be on this side, we could be on kind of over here on the male side, and the same thing with males. Some males might come on this side, some males might be right in the middle. Some macho males are way over on this side, I would say. Dr. Ed, is he on? I don't know. He kind of came and left. And then this is the APA, American Psychological Association. I think that's it. American Psychology Association, APA. Men and women. Oh, here comes Dr. Ed again. No big difference. Studies show that one sex has little or no bearing on personality, cognition, and leadership. I don't know if you can see that. But that was something I just kind of gleaned from the internet, the APA. So one's biological sex has little or no bearing on the personality, cognition, and leadership. So this is about as heavy as we're going to go psychologically with this. Is Dr. Ed here? Hello, Dr. Ed.
Yes, I'm sorry. I've been pretty busy.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to explain. This is a really wonderful session we're having about sex. We're enjoying this very much.
Okay. And the other thing is, so I looked up something else too. In the business world, as you know, like in the last 50, 60 years, women have become more active in business. There are women CEOs. I've had many women who are my bosses. So how do I act toward them? I don't act very aggressively toward my female bosses, and they can sometimes act very aggressively toward me. So again, here's some role reversal, right? I mean, we're talking about traditions here. So I looked up this one quote from Liz Henson, and she used to be, I don't know where she works now, but she used to be at Price Waterhouse Cooper, I believe, which was a big firm. And she did a lot of seminars on women in the workplace. And I think this is a fantastic quote from her. Does anyone want to read it? Does anyone have, Cynthia?
You know what? The side is.
Oh, the side.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ruth.
We all have masculine and feminine sides, and these are no way related to gender. The same mix of the masculine and the feminine are found in men as well. However, the workplace norm is often traditionally to downplay feminine qualities, such as caring, love, and compassion. Instead, more masculine qualities such as command, aggression, and leadership are more highly valued. This is by Liz Hanson. Okay.
Liz Henson, yeah.
Henson, sorry.
So I think that sums it up really nicely from a professional in the business world.
Right,
You know,
right.
like, and these are the roles that we tend to do, because now we have to fit in these roles, because business does tend to like aggressive, sort of aggressive. I mean, we're talking about traditional roles, though. I mean, we know that young girls can be just as tough as young boys, and that's fine too. So as we go forward here, this is the traditional role, right? Or you can have, okay, let's just skip to the good part, the sex, right? So you could have person one, who's the top part, and they kind of display themselves over on this side. This could be anybody. Okay, I mean, this could be a female up top and a male down below, or you could have a male up top and a female down below, biologically speaking. And what is this? How does this Torah say? What is this relationship? It's good. This is perfect. You got a balance here. You can kind of see this balance. I mean, you could even have two guys, right? This and this. All right, let's try this one. Okay, how about this side? If there's one person here is a little more female, and this one's a little more female too. What does the Torah say about this? Can we have a guess?
It doesn't say anything. You said it never said anything about the female.
Right. It didn't outlaw it. So I'm going to say it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. It's not an outlaw. It's not a lawbreaker. All right, what else have we got? All right, this couple, this person up top is more middle, and this on the bottom, this could be like a female that's maybe in law enforcement, or I don't know, someplace where there's...
No, all you have to do is think of it this way. One is more dominating than the other. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. So that, again, because one, they're not both male. I guess that's the point. But then
I understand.
All right, now you get the picture. So now we got two people. This could be even a male and a female, but they both kind of are expressing themselves as pretty aggressive men. So what's going on here? The Torah says that's not appropriate. That's just not appropriate. Now, why would that be a problem? That's the question that we should ask. So the first thing that we should look at is if someone's aggressive male, and this could be, let's just say they're both men at this point. If it's a male here and it's a male there and they're kind of macho, they kind of are both into like sports and stuff, the Torah's kind of giving us a warning sign about this relationship. And one of the reasons I believe is that when you have a relationship like this, it creates a relationship where competition reigns and violence and destruction take root. And I've seen this doing a lot of news stories, and this could even come out with a male and a female, but they're both on that side. What happens is when you have a relationship like that, and I've seen it in terrible news stories, these two people will start looking for victims outside of themselves, and what they'll do is they'll try to get gratification outside of this relationship by dominating and destroying competitors. So it's almost like a sports thing, but it can really devolve into some really bad things. So where have we seen really bad things? Like, for instance, hazing, extreme BDSM. It can happen in any relationship when you have two people that are very aggressive on this spectrum out here. And then the other thing is it can be a very aggressive like fighting match. And then what the outcome sometimes, and this is really brutal, but the outcome could be the rape of the loser. And when that would be the outcome, you would see the worst kind of fight you'd ever want to see, because nobody wants to be humiliated like that. And so again, this is all Torah, we've seen a story like that, I believe, and that.
Can I
is
ask a
called-
question real quick, Mike?
Yeah, yeah.
You saying that the Torah says that a relationship between two aggressive people or two passive people isn't good? Or 'cause I don't know where it says that.
No, it doesn't say. It has the Torah doesn't say anything about two passive people. Like if we consider the female, like the female role is like a traditional
Oh, okay.
passive role. It's not
Yeah,
saying
but you know
that's
what?
a great thing.
I can't even follow that because you can find two females that one is far more dominant than the other. And so that doesn't make sense to me at all because two females can be just as fighting with each other as two men are. So I don't see that at all. You just think you're giving me the idea that females are always so passive. No,
Right,
that's
no.
not true. I mean, to be honest, I'm a very aggressive person. I would not put myself in a passive role, you know.
Right. I agree. No, I agree with you. I agree with you too. I think
Right.
that on these spectrums there could be these could be two females. One up there,
Right.
one up there.
That's right.
Exactly.
So
So-
to me, the whole thing about what you're trying to get to by the Torah is, first of all, you were saying, well, they don't say anything about female to female, but you were kind of saying that is that intensity with the male would be like that, but it could be either way. It could be either with two females, it could be with a female and a male. So
Yes.
I don't really see.
That's exactly.
I don't see the difference as far as where the Torah would accept one with the other. That's where I'm coming from.
What I'm trying to get at is who we are internally, right? So we are biologically I'm male, Gary's male, and we have females here. But I'm trying to get at who we are internally, like who we represent within ourselves, because I agree with you. I think we're on the same side of the argument here. If there's like two females that are very aggressive, I mean, they could play out in the exact same spectrum.
Right.
And this again is like it's attached to BDSM. I mean, there was a couple of years back, I came across some pornography that was by women,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even want to talk about the name of the book, but it was bad. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, they're terrorizing other women in this book, and again, this kind of
I think women can be worse than men on that.
yeah. So I'm with you. I think we're kind of arguing on the same side. I'm just trying to get us to where the Torah says things are bad, not to do, not to go. This is like the warning sign. This is the big warning sign of how, and I don't think we really see it a lot in society. I mean, it's not something that's popular, or it's not. We're not really there. I think there's, like, for instance, if all of a sudden, if this society determines, like, how like there's fighting matches, it's mostly male stuff now, but like, how there's extreme fighting and stuff, and but they have rules still. But if we get to a point in society where that kind of extreme fighting ends up with something really nasty at the end, like a rape of the loser, then that's where we really have to say, whoa, wait a minute, stop. We've gone too far, because I feel like this is what the Torah is talking about. So, look on the bright side. I don't think we're there yet as a full society. And where's this? Like, the thing to me is always the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And because I believe the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is about a society where this has become the dominating rule. So, how long do I have? I got like 7 minutes to 8:30, and Ruthie's like, just like this. This is Ruthie. All right.
I'm trying to get to where you're coming with this.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to be very patient.
Okay. Be patient. Be patient. I'm just trying to interpret the Torah. What's going on? But this used to be fun. Like, we're talking about guys having sex with horses. That's gonna, all right. We're almost there.
Wilbur, don't take liberties with me.
Thank you, Gary. All right. So, when we're talking about this kind of relationship, I believe the example the Torah gives us is the whole society of Sodom and Gomorrah and how it gets destroyed. So, does anyone want to read this? If anyone can read this, Gary?
I can read it again if you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you want to
Ruthie
read
or
it,
me?
Gary? Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
can. Two angels arrived in Sodom in the evening, as Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to greet them, and bowing low with his face to the ground, he said, excuse me, "Please, my lords, turn aside your servant's house to spend the night and bathe your feet. Then you may be ready. Then you may be on your way early." But they said, "No, we will spend the night in the square." The angels had not yet lain down when the townspeople, the men of Sodom, young and old, all the people to the last man, gathered about the house. And they shouted to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them to us, that we may be intimate with them." So Lot went out to them to the entrance, shut the door behind him, and said, "I beg you, my friends, do not commit such a wrong." "Look," Lot said, "I have two daughters who have not known a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you please. But do not do anything to these men, since they have come under the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Stand back." The fellow, they said, came here as an alien, and already he acts the ruler. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. The
Okay.
townspeople. Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
No, I'm
keep
sorry.
going.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The townspeople pressed hard against the person of Lot and moved forward to break the door. But the men, the angels, stretched out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And the people who were at the entrance of the house, young and old, were struck with blinding lights so that they were helpless to find the entrance.
Okay, so that's and then as we know, thank you, Gary. That the city was destroyed, right? After this episode,
Thank you for calling.
the men were this was like it says they're men, aggressive men, right? And they don't want to have anything to do with the females, Lot's daughters. Which was like a disgusting thing that Lot said, "Oh, take my daughters and don't kill these angels." But to me, I'm looking at this story and it's like this is the exact personification of men who are completely super aggressive. They're super hypersexualized, where they what do they want to do to these angels? I mean, it's just like they want to be intimate with them, but the idea here, in my thought process, is they want the angels to fight back against them. They're getting their gratification from that fight, from the violence, because they know they have the whole town on their side. So they feel like they can do anything they want to these two men who are probably looking like, like super movie stars, because they're angels of God, right? So they're like, whoa, these guys are going to put up a fight because they want to fight. They want this domination. They want to be able to dominate somebody, and that's what they're getting their kicks out of. And then they're going to probably do whatever they want with them. Rape them, beat them, murder them, whoever. So I believe this is what the Torah is talking about when we get to 18:22, when it says, "Do not have a male lie with a female." That's just kind of what I'm saying.
Well, it seems like good food to think about.
Yeah. So anyway, let me just wrap it up because
Yeah, because
Why?
in 1 minute, Rudy is going to destroy this iPad.
So why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? Because the cry from the people to God was so great that it could no longer stand. So there were people inside that city that just said, the place is run by horrific people, and they just destroy anybody that comes in town. So who were in charge of the city? Sodom's men were hell-bent on destroying anyone who entered the city. It was a violent welcoming committee. And this was the other thing that the Torah spoke of. Everybody in town was there. Two people show up, and this is the welcoming committee. They know that there's going to be a fight. They know there's going to be a spectacle, and it's going to be bloody and disgusting. It was a great entertainment. Everyone in town was there to watch this. The men of Sodom were sexually gratified by challenging other masculine men to fight them, and the prize was raping the newly conquered visitors. As we know this because it's Lot's daughters were completely ignored. And they were really after the fight. They're into the fight, into that physical confrontation where they can then overcome and dominate. And that is all sexualized. So what we go back to, the males of Sodom, this is where they were operating, on this end right here. And if we had to put the angels on this spectrum, the angels wouldn't even show up on this spectrum. Because why? Because they're not humans, they're angels. So they're like above or beyond this spectrum. So the men are looking at those angels as like, ooh, we got to take them. We want to be intimate with them. But they're not really intimate. They're trying to destroy them. That's where they get their rocks off. So let me wrap it up. Possibly the ideal person maybe can be somewhere in here. Maybe the ideal person is someone who is able to shift between male and female throughout the day, which I believe we do. And too much maleness might be a bad thing, especially in relationships. We all need to embrace our feminine and masculine sides.
I agree. But I'm going to leave now. I have to
all right. So again,
it really was a great kind of interpretation. I do believe in that all of us have male and female in us. That's my personal opinion. But I do have to go because I have not spent any time with Rudy today because he was sleeping all this time. So I want to give him some time. He gets a little crazy right now.
All right, don't get too close to that cat. I'm just sitting. If there's anything you learned tonight. I'm just kidding you.
All of you have a wonderful night.
You too,
and I'll
Ruth.
see you next week. Okay.
Thanks. I'll get it down next year. Next year it'll be tremendous. Don't worry. I'll do it again.
Very good.
Okay. And then and this is the other thing. Most of the Torah directs men to be less aggressive. That's what we were reading all through Leviticus 18. It's all directed at how men should behave and how men should control themselves. Hardly any of this is directed at women. Because women, technically, bye Ruthie, bye Rudy, all right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
But they don't need to have the same kind of rules. They can fit in. They can, and we're talking traditionally. I mean, we know this is all tradition. They're men and women. We're all mixed up, and it's good. All right, now is the time for questions. Anyone have any questions? And I think I
have comments. I have just a couple of comments, but. Well, I always interpreted in the Torah, you shall not lie with. I always thought of that as because I'm talking about in terms of like the type of the wording that you had in this said to bring them out so that we may be intimate with them. The way the wording is used in the Torah is so that we may know them in the biblical sense, like. That literally means like having, a woman who is not known a man as a virgin. In that sense, there would be a difference between the type of conquest sexual activity between males, like in Sodom and Gomorrah, than there would be, like, say, in a modern day married gay couple, right? That's a different. But aside from that, even though, but the Torah tells males that they can't spill seed. So in other words, if a male emits seed without the sole purpose of reproducing and perpetuating, being fruitful and multiplying, that's considered a sin in the Torah.
Okay.
And the other thing I think about that is implied in the Torah, of all the human relationships or whatever we feel inside, or the mixture of feminine or masculine. I mean, we have XY and XX chromosomes, so women don't have XY, right? But the male-female relationship, or men lying with women, so to speak, is essential to the perpetuation of humanity. That's a different thing. Like, you can't compare. Like, in other words, if the Torah said that it was, that men should lie with only men and not women, then we wouldn't even be talking now because the human race wouldn't exist. You see what I'm saying? So It kind of, I think in the way the Torah means it, the Torah does kind of, but in the sense maybe at the time, people had to understand, had to emphasize the be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
Because be fruitful and multiply, there's only one way that we exist, and that's a sperm and an egg.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I felt like a woman, my body still produces sperm because I'm a male.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? And those have to come together somehow. I mean, nowadays it can be done in a laboratory.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? I think that's what the Torah implies.
Right. So you're saying that the Torah implies heterosexual relationships because of the
Because it's essential to be fruitful and multiply. Without that, there's no be fruitful and multiply.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm not. Yeah. And my feeling is that, I agree with you, but I mean, why not have all these different options? I mean, that's to me.
There are. I mean, I'm saying that it's years later now, but I'm just saying that that's what I think is meant in the Torah. What's implied by, you know what I mean?
Right.
I just think that that's why it's meant at that time. It's the same thing with, if you look even like nowadays, if you look at transgender. The Torah says that a male shall not wear that which pertaineth to a female, and a female shall not wear that which pertaineth to a male, for it is an abomination before the Lord. So I think a lot of these things, are meant because, it's the foundation of, like these other things can exist, but this is essential.
Right.
You know what I mean? In other words,
that's the other thing. It kind of goes to what I'm trying to suggest, is that some men are really, they're not aggressive men, right? So they're, even though God says don't put on a dress if you're a male biologically, right. God might be saying don't put on a dress if you don't identify yourself as a male. So I think that interpretation could be allowed, because I feel like God makes people a certain way, and I think it's so important, because I just know a lot of gay people would rather, and they've tried really hard not to be gay, but there's no way around it. And they're not like in the way we're talking about when we see the Torah in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah play out like it does. To me, it's really focused on a certain category. I mean, this is not happening in Provincetown, where we see a vast majority of gay people, right? I mean, men. This doesn't happen there. Why? Because they're not in that side of the spectrum. There might be some men that are there, but they are mixing and matching with the other side of the spectrum of themselves.
Well, the other side of it too, now, like be fruitful and multiply. I mean, there are a lot of people that are gay that have multiplied and have been fruitful. Right. So they still kind of fulfill that, even though they're gay,
Right. Yeah, and that, so, I mean, and then they find out, like, what, 10 or 20 years within a heterosexual marriage that it's not working out.
Like Reverend Joe.
Right, Reverend Joe, and there was several others. I mean, we've known, and somebody else was brought up last week, where people at the temple, and I mean, it happens all the time, because people try very hard to fit into these traditional roles that they just don't fit into, right? And they struggle, and there's suicides, right? They can't take life, because it's like, and then then they try to read Torah, and they're just thinking, oh my God, I can't even lie with the person that I love. And so I guess that my point with this whole thing is just to kind of give people some leeway, at least, because I feel like the Torah is speaking specifically about a certain type of male lying with a certain type of male, and that it doesn't matter if it's a woman, if biologically they're a woman or a male, or biologically, but internally they're a certain way. Comments, Dr. Ed, please.
You have to unmute yourself, Dr. Ed.
I had to mute you because you were talking in the background.
The Old Testament and the New Testament. Is it just the three of us here?
No, Monique is here.
Monique, how are you, Monique?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. The Old Testament, the New Testament, very simplified. It's very simple. Whatever we read is total simplified for an uneducated population that that understands killing and sex. That's and doing what they're supposed. That's all I care about. That's all I, these people were totally. Most of them were illiterate, and that's what the Torah and that's what both the New Testament and the Old Testament's all about. Guess what? Your interpretation brings us to a level where, hey, God has a plan, and God has some very advanced concepts that he is implying, cryptically implying. And if that's the case, then there is a God. That I used to tell people that every time I read the New or Old Testament, I become more agnostic. And your presentation says maybe it's really cryptic message that's implied for the future highly advanced educated person. So, which makes at least the Old Testament, I can't speak for the New Testament, the Old Testament important in the year 2022, as well as the year 1000. All right. So your interpretation breeds confidence that there is a God. So that's much more important to me than anything else. So this is the first session where I say, yeah, there is a God, because he is talking to me. He's not
Hallelujah.
talking to a moron in the streets of in the desert who doesn't understand the clue. So he's speaking to me. So you've done your job. You've done your
Well, it's like
job.
that's true, Dr. Ed, like you say in the Torah. All these rules that we're given, they're not like explained in any kind of detail. You're not told like why you're not supposed to necessarily. Like it'll say it's an abomination. It doesn't say why or explain how.
So
It's just that, you know what I mean?
what I'm
Yeah.
saying to you is
Yeah.
you are an angel of God today, Michael, by your interpretation. Right or wrong, doesn't make any difference. For the first time in all these years, you made God talk to me. And at
Wow.
least say, all right. The second part is about women executives and that whole thing. I really must give you absolute discussion. It's a pile of bullshit. And and what goes on in big business right now with males and females is terrible. It's horrendous going on right now. And what's going on in big business. And all I hear about it from every country that I consult with, I hear the same thing. And there is a big situation going on, and there is a civil war going on between males and females in the corporate world. And I'm not going to get involved in who is what and what is who, but it ebbs and flows. We're 6 or 7 years ago, women were the dominant force, and it's now come back to the males, and it's going to go back to the females again, depending on certain situations. But we're never going to fix this. We are never fix. Right now, look at what's going on in the sports world, where a male transgender female is winning all of the everything, and they're killing each other. Why? It's because no matter what you do, there's a Y gene there, and we got to get around this. So I don't know what the answer is. I have absolutely not what the answer, but in the corporate world, it goes back and forth and back and forth of female dominance, male dominance, female dominance. And no one has been able to fix this. And I don't know how to fix it either. I have some ideas how to fix it, but it is what it is. So, uh,
I
But as
say,
far as
yeah.
far as the religion, you have given me religion tonight.
What? All right, Dr. Ed, I'll take it. No, I really want to say what I really want to say. Thank you, Dr. Ed, for that. I really do appreciate it.
Michael, can I say something?
Yes,
Because I'm going to have to
absolutely,
go.
Monique. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it is possible that that was written and meant to be taken literally at that time, which Leviticus 18 would have been, 27 would have been when? How many years ago?
5,000. I don't know.
5,000 years ago.
Four or
But I
5,000.
think of God as an evolving form, and I think the God of 5,000 years ago is not the same as the God is today. And I think God works through evolution. So it's very possible that God changed his mind or her mind, and that homosexuality is now okay because God has understood that it's not always about aggression, but it's also about love and passion and caring. So I think for me, God works through evolution. That God himself and herself is evolving over time.
I like that. I could buy that definitely. I think it goes both ways, right? I think that our interpretation is always evolving too.
I once read a commentary that says that, like, as we evolve, like, God learns from us,
Oh wow,
you know?
wow.
Like, God
But
creates
it
us,
was
but then
written
God learns.
5,000 years ago. That's the key. The key is he was speaking to me now 5,000 years ago. Speaking 5,000 years ago, though now I can understand what he's saying, but those people. So when the people who read it, they read, they read about sex and killing, and we read it now about not sex and killing, but a deeper interpretation. So what he wrote then, they understood, and what we now we're beginning to understand. So this is very interesting. This is a concept that I never thought of, and I'm sure that your literalists at your college hated it because they're literalists.
Right. Yeah. They want them. Yeah. You have to read it exactly the way it's written. But
That's
I
like a
do.
religious extremist.
I
Like,
love this.
Yeah.
all the
Thank you.
extreme religions are like that, you know?
And I
If I,
think that you should add an introduction, as I have just said, that this is not a discussion of homosexuality. This is a discussion of advanced theology.
Wow. I really just want to thank you, all of you, for your input, and because I did like when I was putting this down, I kind of felt like I was going out on a limb because one of the issues that I'm having here is that I'm trying to point out that there might be things that are forbidden. Like right now, I think in society, especially in the way we talk and interact about relationships, I feel like anything goes in a lot of ways. I mean, and I mean, of course, like this part of the Bible doesn't really necessarily address pedophilia, but I know pedophilia to be wrong because I believe it's stealing from a young person's innocence, right? So I believe that's covered in that you shall not steal. But the whole idea that I do believe there's something that's forbidden, and I'm just trying to get to that. The idea that I was trying to make a point on is that everything is not okay to do. As I was saying earlier, don't have sex with animals.